Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin and simply look to see if we can break the downtrend. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. This has been a brutal downtrend for Bitcoin. One of the reasons is because it's been fairly unrelenting, and we've been putting in lower high after lower high after lower high. I was wondering, why has market sentiment been so bad recently? And I think a lot of it could probably be simply boiled down to unmet expectations, because again, a lot of people were assuming that we would have a parabolic move by Bitcoin in Q4. Obviously, there was no reason we ever had to have a parabolic move by Bitcoin in Q4. And so you couple the expectations with actually Bitcoin going down 30% or so over the last month, then of course market sentiment is pretty bad, right? Now, with that said, this move over here, while it was technically worse than the current one is anyways, market sentiment didn't seem quite as bad as it has recently. And I think a lot of people just assume that the cycle's over and that we are destined to go back down to much lower prices. Um, but I would still argue that while it is certainly possible we have further downside from here, I mean, you cannot discount the fact that we easily could. There still is a good chance, in my opinion, that the market cycle will push on and we will have a lengthened cycle. And this is what we've talked about for a long time. Now, the more pressing question right now is, can Bitcoin break the downtrend? Okay, I mean, this is the first order of business. If we can't break the downtrend, then all we really need to do is just draw a line through the downtrend and continue to extend it. And you can sort of speculate on where we might be if the downtrend doesn't break. So the first order of business, of course, is, can Bitcoin break the downtrend? And looking at, I know, hold on to your hats, but 4-hour candles, this is what we get, okay? And if we zoom in more recently and then just draw a line at the top of the candles down, we are potentially trying to break it. Now, no one, and I mean no one, is getting out of bed for a $48,000 Bitcoin. I can assure you of that. But really, realistically, we'd like to see it get above, well above 49. Let's just call it 49.5K. Okay. Why? Well, that was where the last local top was, at around 49.5K. I mean, really, it was slightly below that. So if Bitcoin could get to 49.5K, then at least it's not, we've at least temporarily broken this downtrend. Now, what's interesting is, of course, you could draw this trend line a number of different ways, which is one of the reasons why I'm not the biggest fan of trend lines. We do know this is a 4-hour candle, so it's technically possible that it could be a wick, depending on how it plays out here over the next few hours. You could also draw the trend lines just from the absolute price that it reached, and then connect those and see where we are as well. But of course, however you want to draw it. Okay, if you draw it on the 4-hour time frame and then just connect the candles, this is what you get. And we are seeing a potential breakout. Now, I think something that would be interesting also to look at is the daily time frame, but the daily RSI. Okay, the relative strength index, it more or less tells you what you already know, but it has been somewhat instrumental in helping identify prior breakouts. Okay, so if we switch this over to something we can read a bit easier, if you guys remember, we tracked this trend earlier this year, basically that we were just in this downtrend. And once we broke it, we were going to be off to the races. And in fact, we were, right? I mean, we were off to the races once we broke it. This is where we broke it, right? Right here. You can draw the line. Okay. So then today, we sort of see a similar pattern, right? I mean, it's not as spread out. It's not as long lasting as the other one. We can at least look at the daily RSI and draw a dubious trend line and say, look, I mean, that's the line in the sand, right? We'd like to break above this. And so let's keep an eye on it. Obviously, there are no guarantees. I would assume, I mean, we're in this choppy market right now, and it's easy to get excited about these sort of micro pumps, but until we actually start an uptrend or put in a base at the very least, or start an uptrend, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. Okay, so let's see if we can break the downtrend. Okay, let's see if we can put in a higher high. See if the daily RSI can break out to the upside. More importantly, on longer time frames, one of the key areas of overhead resistance that we would like to get above, rather than get into a long downtrend below it, is that 50-week SMA. And currently, the 50-week is at a very modest 47.9K. All right, so we are technically above it right now. You can see that in the summer we did dip below it temporarily right here on these two candles. We also had a wick below it right here as well. And that's currently where we are, right? We actually had a wick below it. Actually, I didn't even notice. It is a somewhat similar pattern. Of course, things don't have to play out exactly the same way, but you see the wick, the weekly close right there, and then we got back above it. We had the wick, the weekly close. Let's see if we get back above it or not. I'm not gonna, speculate on that or not, but the weekly close, we would like to be back above the 50-week SMA. All right, so there would be some area of resistance at around 47.9. Obviously, at the time of this video, we're above the 50-week SMA, but that doesn't mean we're not going to continue to test it for days or weeks to come. Okay, so right now we're above it, but we also know there's a lot of volatility in the market. So do keep an eye on that level. And I think the other main area to keep an eye on right now that we've been testing a lot recently is the 200-day moving average. Okay, so that 200-day moving average, I don't really use it that much myself, if I'm being completely honest, but I do know a lot of people that do use it, and I think the people that have used it in the past that I've followed. And this isn't just this is I'm not talking just about crypto. I'm talking about just in stock market and stuff. Is that if you're above the 200-day, things are bullish. If you're below the 200-day, things are bearish. It's sort of the same thing I use, but I use the 20-week SMA, which is a little bit of a shorter time frame. Okay, it's closer to 140 days, but it's on the weekly time frame. This is the 200-day SMA. So the general sentiment that I know some people carry is that if it's below the 200-day, we're generally bearish. If it's above the 200-day, it's bullish. And right now, the 200-day moving average is coming in at around 47.2K. All right, and we've been flirting with that level here for, basically since we really got into this rut down here since the beginning of September, or the beginning of December. So those are the key areas to watch. We want to see if we can, in fact, break that downtrend. Obviously, you can zoom in on the lower time frames. There can always, I would say you're more likely to have fake outs on lower time frames than on the longer time frames, but it is at least an area to start. I mean, you got to start somewhere. Let's see if we can, in fact, break the downtrend. Okay, so let's see if this becomes just a wick, or if we can go put in a new higher high at least 49.5K. And if we can, then maybe we can start either. I wouldn't necessarily say we're going to go skyrocket to 100K immediately. Believe me, I'm not saying that. But at least it would show that we could be trying to actually build out a base rather than immediately continue the downtrend. Okay? So remember, if you guys like the content, subscribe to the channel. Give the video a thumbs up. We also do have the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com. Make sure you guys check that out if you're not subscribed. You'll get access to weekly videos and reports, the Telegram alerts channel, the Telegram chat room, the risk dashboard, the trading view indicators, and generally how I navigate these markets as well as the stock market too. Thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe, click the bell icon to turn on notifications, and I will see you next time. Bye.